Hi everyone, welcome back to Novel Idea. My name is Dia, and today we are going to go over what I have read so far in the month of May. All right, so I believe I have about 8 books that I have read so far, and I have a few that I'm in the middle of, so I'll tell you about those ones at the end. But let's jump in and start talking about books. So the first one that I finished, I don't have a copy of, and that is The Final Empire by Brandon Sanderson. I'm doing the Mist along with Christy from Christy Lewis Dostoevsky in Space and Tiffany from Beautiful Minutia and Naomi from Naomi's Bookshelf, and I'm forgetting. But anyway, I'll link it below. And so the first book in the Mistborn Era 1 series was supposed to be our May read. And so I did that. I went ahead and read The Final Empire. It was so good to be back in this world with these characters and to be reminded of why I liked Brandon Sanderson so much when I started reading him. The Mistborn Era 1 was my second foray into Brandon Sanderson. My first was Elantris, and then I went on to read The Final Empire, Hero of Ages, Wall of Ascension, all of those. And there is something about his early writings that I just really love. They aren't quite as, I don't want to say lighthearted, because I don't think any of his writing is necessarily really lighthearted, but they aren't as trite. They're not as flippant. A lot of times in his newer writings, especially the ones that have come out in the last couple of years, there's just a less of a weightiness to what he is writing, and I don't like it as much. So this was really fun for me to be back with these characters, and just really happy to have reread this book and to have had an excuse to read this book. All right, so the next book that I finished was Sabriel by Garth Nix. This I was reading with my fantasy forum group, and that is Jack from Spread Book Joy, Gemma from Gemma Books, and Sandy from Ms. Reads a Lot. And we all really enjoyed this. Not all of us liked it as much as some of the rest of us did, but we all liked it, and we all finished it, which is a major accomplishment for this group, because we just have had the hardest time. I'm trying to remember the way that Gemma put it, a rough trot. We have had a rough trot with the books that we have tried. And this one was pretty much a winner for all of us. We all really enjoyed our time in it. We had lots of questions at the end. We are going to go on and read some more in this series, but we were all very happy to have found one that we really like, because we've only, out of 6 books now, we've only liked one other one besides this. So this was a winner as far as I'm concerned. Sabriel is the story of a young girl who is in the lineage of a type of necromancer. They are not the type of necromancers that raise the dead, but they are the type of necromancers that keep the dead dead, and keep them from rising and taking life. She becomes the inheritor quite unexpectedly, And this is the story basically of her learning what that means. And it was wonderful. We really enjoyed it. So I especially enjoyed it. It's one of my favorites. Next, I reread The Hiding Place. So all of these are so far rereads for me. The Hiding Place is by Corrie ten Boom, and this is the story of her family, and they have such a love for people. They believe that people have a right to life and to life abundant. And they decide to hide Jews from the Nazis when the Nazis come and take over their town. And because of that, they end up in concentration camps, and Corrie, is the only one that survives. And so it's the story of her being able to forgive and create space for even the Nazis who wronged her and her family and many, many others so much. And so it's wonderful. I loved it. I'm so glad that Krista from Books and Jams, she was doing a read along of this book this month, and that's the reason why I picked it up. And so I'm just really happy that she decided to do that. It had been a few years since I had reread this, and it was very special to be back in it. Then I read The Dragon with the Chocolate Heart, or A Dragon with the Chocolate Heart. And it is by Stephanie Burgess. And I read this because Becca from Read Becca did a video. She did a video and suggested books to booktubers that she has some sort of relationship with or has watched long enough to believe that she knows what they would like. And so this one is about a family, what do you want to call them? A clutch of dragons, a talon of dragons. One of the hatchlings, has this desire to go out into the world and to do things that she is not being permitted to because her family thinks that she is too young and has not developed enough armor, enough scales and armor to be able to protect herself. And so they are protective of her. And she feels less than and other than the rest of her family as a result of this. And so she kind of goes out into the world and something happens. And in the process of that happening, she kind of discovers what she really loves, what she has a passion for. And it's very much a middle grade book because of the way that it is written. It's almost too sappy and syrupy for me. It's very sweet, but it's almost a little saccharine sweet. And so I really did like it. Becca was right in the fact that it's just a precious kind of story, but I did really enjoy it. I also read Penric's Demon. I picked this up because the author writes a science fiction series that I've been hearing about. The author is Lois McMaster Bujold, I believe. And so she writes this sci-fi series that I've been hearing about, but my library doesn't have the sci-fi series. They do have this fantasy series. And so Penric's Demon is the first one in the series. And this is about a very kind of well-to-do, not super well-to-do, but well-to-do young lordling who is pretty naive about most of life, it feels like. And he is on his way to his betrothal ceremony when he comes upon a caravan that has stopped, and there is an old woman lying in the byway surrounded by others, but she's an elderly woman, and he stops basically to say, what can I do to help? And in the process of this, something happens that he doesn't have any idea is going to happen and has no control over what happened, but is suddenly a little bit of an outcast as a result of it. And he doesn't quite know what to do, but again, just very naive. And so he doesn't necessarily think that it's a bad thing. And he doesn't know all of what is going to happen next. And I actually really liked this story, but it again feels a little bit young. It feels like it was maybe written for early YA, maybe 16, 17, 18 in there. And so it just feels like a little bit younger of a book, but I still really liked it. And I think I might go on with the series because it's at least a trilogy. I'm not sure if there are more books in it than 3, but I'm looking forward to trying that. I read a cozy mystery, and I heard about this from Hannah over at Hannah's Books, and she was doing kind of a deep dive, let's say, on Emily Dickinson. She found these cozy mysteries where Emily Dickinson is one of the investigators. And so I picked up the first one, and it is called Because I Could Not Stop for Death, which is a famous line from an Emily Dickinson poem. I actually really, really enjoyed this. It's not quite cozy in the fact that it is, I think it's a little bit more of a murder mystery than most cozy mysteries are. There's a little more danger, a little bit more intensity to it than a cozy mystery, but I loved it. I just thought it was great. I had such a good time in it. It's by Amanda Flower. I'm not sure if I said that. Of course, I'll put the picture up. I'm not going to say too much about it because it is a murder mystery. So if you want to read it, I don't want to tell you anything about the mystery. But Emily Dickinson is joined by a young woman who becomes her housemaid, and they work on this mystery together. And that's all I will say about that one. You guys, I finally finished Ken Liu's The Grace of Kings. I cannot tell you how long I spent trying to get through this book. I have a very good friend who I trust, who says if I could get through The Grace of Kings, then there's a good part of the series that comes after, and a part of it that I will probably enjoy more. And this one, though, was a lot of world building, a lot of characters with 2, 3, 4 names, a lot of political, which I don't mind so much, but this was political that I just was not grasping really well. And then on top of that was also a lot of battles and war. And I'm not a big battle and war girly. So I would pick it up and I would read a little bit, and then I would put it down, and I would pick it up and I would read a little bit. And for 3/4 of the book, I would say that's what I did. And I finally got to the place about 3/4 of the way through where I was like, okay, I think I can do this. I think I'm understanding who's who and what's what and what is happening. And I was grasping, like, it's got almost like a Greek god, sibling god system or group, but they are Asian gods or Asian inspired gods and goddesses. And so there's them, then there's these mortals that are doing their thing, but some of them are favored by the gods. And it's a very Asian inspired landscape and political system, which was part of what was getting me. I just wasn't exactly sure of all of what was happening. But then there's all of, with the war and the battles, there's all of the debauchery and debasedness that comes with wars and battles, and which is part of the reason why I don't really like that kind of stuff in my books. But I did it. I got through it, and now I can pick up, is it Speaking Bones or Wall of Storms? I don't know which one is next, but I will be picking that up. Hopefully I will get through it much sooner. I swear, Grace of Kings has taken me 1.5 years or 2 years of picking it up and putting it down. I do like Ken Liu's writing. I just, for some reason, this was just not clicking with me. So I hope the next one does. Thomas More's Utopia. I don't know what to say about this. I have always been told that this book is about this perfect society, this perfectly at peace, just everyone gets along, everyone loves one another kind of place. And the name of the place, Utopia, has become kind of in our modern day language a word that means peaceful, at peace. It's a utopia. It's like a utopia. That's what I thought I was getting myself into, and I was not. This is more of a socialist kind of society. So there are still people that are in charge of other people. There are still slaves and slavery. There are still like very strict rules and regulations that I'm surprised that these people could just go to the bathroom by themselves, that they didn't have to get permission for that, because they have to get permission for everything else. So a little surprised that they didn't have to do that. I just really did not enjoy it. I also didn't love the writing in it. It was very just, I'm going to tell you the way that this is. This is da 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 da, and they do 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 do, and I just didn't enjoy it. My review of this was don't bother. Lastly, I read another cozy mystery. This one was much cozier. It is called Proof of Murder. It is book 4. And I'm not going to remember the name of the cozy mystery series, but it is by Lauren Elliott. And I really liked this one. I haven't liked all of the ones in this series, but I really liked this one. And I think it was partly because she wasn't deeply involved in a relationship, and I deeply appreciated that. It was more about the mystery. And she owns a bookshop, and she owns a bookshop on Bainbridge Island in Washington State, which I just was over in that area for vacation, a little tiny mini vacation that we took, which is why I picked it up. It was so much fun to be reading about the area and what was happening over there and be there at the same time. I'm not going to tell you anything about it because, like I said, cozy mystery. You need the mystery. But I really enjoy this protagonist. The love interest that she has in this book is somebody I really enjoy as well. And so, yeah. And it was a good mystery. It was a really good mystery. So that's everything I've completed so far this month. And so in the middle of still Wives and Daughters, this is what I am reading with Kelly from Kelly Reads a Lot. It's a reread for me, but it's her first time, and I'm so much loving the turmoil that this is causing in Kelly as we read. I told her at one point, if I was you and I was reading this for the first time, I don't think that I could read it as slowly as we're reading it, because we're just reading a couple chapters a day and we'll be done with it by the end of the month. I said, if I was you, I'd be wanting to speed through and find out all of the things at this point, but she's being good. She's reading just a couple chapters a day. And then also rereading Bradbury's Dandelion Wine. And this is my wind down book at the end of the day. And it is so perfect for that. I so love Douglas Spalding's, I think that's his last name, isn't it? Spalding his last name? Yes. Douglas Spalding's narrative as he tells us about what he is thinking and feeling and experiencing this summer of his 12th year of life. And it's just absolutely magical. Almost done with the May section of Stillmeadow to Sugarbridge. Gladys Tabor and Barbara Webster are the two letter writers in this book, and it goes by months of the year. And so I read April last month, and I'm reading May this month. And then I have only just begun. I'm going to say Thyra. Here, I'll let you see it. Thyra, Ferre, Bjorn, maybe. This is The Heart Has a Home, or The Home Has a Heart. Sorry, The Home Has a Heart. And this is an autobiographical kind of work. Almost like a memoir, but it doesn't have it's not like a tell-all kind of memoir. It's more of a passion for being and doing who and what she is. And that happens to be a wife and a mama. And so it's really, really special. It's got recipes in it. It's just so good. I'm really enjoying it. I'm still reading my Charles Spurgeon devotional. That'll take all year. What else? I don't know. If I think of other things, I might pop pictures up when I'm editing. Are you joining us in the Mist Along, or are any of you in Tiffany's Patreon reading the Dandelion Wine with us? I would love to know any of that. I would love to know if you have read anything else in this. Would love to know if you have read something that you are just so excited about right now. So let me know that down in the comments, and I will see you in another video very soon. So like if you liked it, subscribe if you want to. Bye everyone.